Tonight, the governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, joins me on the program as we discuss developments in the state under his watch. Welcome to the program, everyone. Stay with us. I'll be right back. Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. Nasarawa State, under the leadership of Governor Abdullahi Sule, has recorded developments in strategic sectors, namely agriculture, education, infrastructure, and economy. According to the Nasarawa Economic Development Strategy, NET, working with an overall framework, a clearly articulated vision, NET has set out critical strategies for realizing the state's vision of a prosperous and thriving economy that improves the economic well-being of residents through wealth and job creation, improved business and increased investment opportunities, a deviation from previous practices which have developed and delivered mixed results. Tonight, Governor Abdullahi Sule joins me live from Abuja studio to discuss the development of Nasarawa State under his watch. Good evening to you, Your Excellency. Welcome to Politics Tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. So, Governor, it's been 5 years, 8 months since you took over as governor of Nasarawa State. And I remember how hard it was. It was definitely a tall battle, particularly in the Northern Senatorial District where you come from. In 2019, your vision for the state is to transform Nasarawa State into a functional private sector-led economy. You promised to create opportunities for citizens. You talked about improving the quality of their lives and shape the state into a regional entrepreneurship hub. If you were to score yourself, would you give yourself a pass mark?
Well, I usually don't like giving myself a pass mark or a failure or any of those kind of scores. I allow other people to do that. But I will say so far so good. For sure, Nasarawa State is better than what we made it right now. So many things that Nasarawa State never had 5 years ago, today the state has most of those things. All the uncompleted projects have been completed with the exception of a road that is roughly about 63 kilometers that we are working on. We have done more new projects than even the ones we inherited. We have changed life here from the state capital, from more than just like a glorified local government headquarters into a full-fledged state capital today. We have been able to pay most of the outstandings. Is it in salaries? Is it in gratuities? Is it in that? We have engaged the state as to be the true solid mineral state by now having industries that have springing up in the area of lithium, tin mining, tantalite, and barite. We have been able actually to pay a lot of other students and engage students now into the area of vocational and technical education, something that we didn't have much of. We have established institutions into the area. We have strengthened the healthcare sector. And in fact, Nasarawa State was one of the 4 states that had been rated in the country by the Chatham House when it comes to the primary healthcare agencies in the country. Just today, we have received an award from Sasakawa among, again, another 4 states in the Federation that are known for making aggressive effort in the area of agriculture. And that's even the reason why I'm in Abuja today. So those are the kinds of progress that we have made so far in the various areas. Security-wise, we thank God Almighty, that the state has been able, to secure its borders with some states that have been having lots of challenges. Yes, we have 1 or 2 challenges here and there, but generally, in the North Central region, perhaps Nasarawa is the most peaceful state that you can think of. And that's why we continue to see so many investors that are rushing into the state, trying to establish one over the other. There is no week that goes by without me meeting 3 or 4 investors that are coming into Nasarawa State in the area of urban development, that is housing, in the area of healthcare, that is clinic and hospitals, in the area of agriculture or mining that has received most of the awards. We have received some of the biggest companies you can think of in the lithium mining, like Canmax, CATL, that have arrived in Nasarawa State to show that. So I can go on and on, and that's so far so good.
So congratulations to you on that award. But you know, Mr. Governor, whenever I have an opportunity to speak with Northern governors, I'm always very concerned about education, which they say is the bedrock of any functioning society. Since elected in 2019, would you consider taking out-of-school children back to the classes a top priority of your administration? What have you done so far in ensuring that the issue of having uneducated children on the streets during learning hours is drastically reduced?
One thing that we did on arrival is we didn't, coming from my background of the private sector, I didn't want to just say we are investing money in education without even knowing where the money was going to go into. So first we engage the College of Sciences at the Federal University Lafayette into what we call a baseline survey to look at the 1,400 primary schools we have and the over 400 secondary schools we had, and to look at their needs, what it was that we did, and to look at the number of children we have out of school, whether it is actually girls' child or almajiris and the rest of that, and to find out why they were out of school. That's what the baseline survey has been able to do. So what we did since I came in 2019, we had budgeted the highest chunk of these to education, highest chunk of our budget. In the year 2020 that we came in, actually 26%. In the year 2021, 31%. In the year 2023, 36%. And now we have gone back down to about 24%. So that's what we have done. So it's not just about, you know, building the schools. We needed to know what and what they needed. So far, we have employed over 8,000 teachers for secondary schools, and we are employing about 2,000 teachers for primary schools. You know, so now a lot of them, the teachers that we have had, probably you had in the news, that there was actually a problem in the employment of some of the 1,000 teachers out of the 8,000 that we have engaged. You know, and those people that we found, because of the importance we attach to education, that had done something wrong, we actually dismissed them from service, and we engage a fresh set of people, you know, in order to go and carry out the exercise, so it will be done. That's how much importance we attach to education.
And talking about investment, I know that at a point you agreed to partner with the World Bank in two educational sectors, adolescent girls initiatives for learning and empowerment, and the bilingual education, in order to cater for the out-of-school children in the States. How effective are these initiatives? Also, just recently, the federal government disbursed 6.7 billion naira grant to tackle out-of-school children in your state. What measures are on ground to ensure transparency in making sure that these funds meant for these projects are not just waste for some people to enrich themselves?
Well, you see, most of the monies meant for education are monies that are targeted for education, and there is no way you can even play around with them. When I talk about what happened during the employment of teachers, has nothing to do with money missing. It has to do more with the fact that the people that meant to be employed were not employed. Instead, we went into some corruption to engage some people that shouldn't have been employed as teachers. So that's what I'm talking about. As far as any program that has to do with World Bank, you know, once we come into it, you know, whatever is done is attached and directly to that aspect of education. If it is the Almajiri system that we had, you know, we already have a program, and we have people who are driving this and being supervised, you know, by that. We have 3 major Almajiri schools that we have in Nasarawa State at the moment. They are being concluded. Everything that they have is jointly supervised by both the state government as well as the World Bank. So to make sure that it is in line with the design that had originally. So there is nothing we leave to chances, you know, when it comes to that. And as far as the funding is concerned, there is no fund that is being spent outside that. So you said something about 7 billion. I didn't get that other aspect of it.
Let's talk about the creation of the North Central Development Commission, which I'm sure you're excited about. It looks like a new dawn for the region, and most importantly, should act as a catalyst to develop the arrays of potential of the North Central, as well as address the gaps in the infrastructural development of the region. And now that it has materialized, first, how committed are you and your colleagues to getting it up and running? and in particular put to work for the people?
Yeah, well, that before I say anything on the North Central Development Commission, I've always used the opportunity every time such has come up to show great appreciation to Mr. President, because we were the only state whatsoever, the only region whatsoever that didn't have a development commission. So we thank the National Assembly for driving that, and we thank Mr. President for actually assenting to that bill. In addition to that, I want to show great appreciation also to members of the National Assembly, that had driven it and made Nasarawa State, Lafia to be specific, to be the headquarters of it. So we have been working in that area as far as that is concerned. Now, Development Commission, as the name implies, is meant to help the regions in the development of the entire states. And we have 6 states and the federal capital in this manner. So the first time it came up, in order for us not to run into some of the hitches that other development commissions have had, we called for a meeting where we met with the members of the National Assembly and discussed the various areas, of that. And that is exactly what we did. So we are engaging some consultants who are going to assist us by identifying the areas of our own development after visiting from one state to another. And that is what we are working on at the moment. So the management has not yet been set up. We are appealing to Mr. President to consider, setting up the management so that it can take off as quickly as possible.
But if you also put into consideration the enormous challenges bedeviling the region, I'm concerned about how the Commission would help bring the needed human capital to drive the developmental needs of the region, in particular, Nigeria in general.
Well, there is no reinventing the wheel in this process. There are other commissions. By the way, I come from the oil and gas sector. I remember originally, when the NCDC was put together, NDDC was put together, at the time, I was actually living in Port Harcourt. So it was meant to address a certain area of security as far as that is concerned. And then later on, it was expanded to training of the people and taking care of the pollution that was there. So it's the same thing, that I said. We are looking at specific, for instance, this is a region of agriculture. So we look at the competitive advantages. This is a region of mining. This is a region where education is key. This is a region where we look at our Almajiri systems. What do we need to do? So we have areas of our own competitive advantage. And that is what we are discussing with the management. But as I said, the management has not even been instituted yet, has been constituted yet. So we are working on that.
All right. Let's go back to Nasarawa State, Mr. Governor. As part of your infrastructure development drive, you're constructing an overpass and underpass in Lafia, amongst other projects. And some have argued that such venture is a misplaced priority. As some of your critics say, you should say you adopted cosmetic approach to governance and seem to be more interested in endless inauguration of needless committees on every issue of governance. And they say you're gallivanting in the name of attracting investors to the state, rather than addressing the challenges bedeviling the state. What do you say?
Well, when you are in this kind of position, there is nothing you can do without somebody saying something negative about it or somebody criticizing it. When we came in from 2019 all the way to somewhere around 2023, we did nothing but developing the rural areas, opening the rural areas, creating the roads, working with the World Bank, either through ACRESAL or through NG Cares or through that, to open most of these areas so that agriculture was being boosted, promoting the areas, promoting education and the rest of that. So all those times, nobody has complained. So now we have to also promote. We can't be making, we cannot attract people if our cities are not also attractive. If our cities are congested by traffic, I hear a lot of complaints, for instance, for people living in Abuja going towards Kefi. You will hear a lot of complaints around Mararaba, around Masaka, and the rest of that. People will complain very badly about that. Today, if I go and I'm constructing an overhead, there, somebody will criticize it. So I think there are people who have less to do and they have plenty of time just to sit down and criticize. And for that reason, you can't just give in to those kind of leadership. So there is no area of our own economy in Nasarawa State that we have not touched. There is no local government out of the 13 local government areas that we have not done one development or the other, one major road or the other, one opening of the rural areas or the other. And so the people on ground are always happy, and then every time you visit, those people are very happy. Agriculture has improved. Today, Nasarawa is #1 in some of the crops, like sesame, like yam production and the rest of that. We were not there before. Today, we are #5 in rice production in the country. We were not even #10 before. So those are the kinds of things that you will see. So, but when people complain, and this area that we are talking about is accident after accident after accident that people continue to have there. Take Kefi Market, for instance. When we were building the Kefi Market, some people complained that we are doing that. But this is a market that had burnt 5 times. Today, since we finished that market, 2.5 years ago, there had not been fire incident once. But when we started building, and people complained, why are you building market? Why are you not building this? Why are you not? So I think criticism is part and parcel of the game, and we just, for me, I've already developed a thick skin that criticism doesn't bother me anymore.
All right. Your Excellency, let's take a break at this moment, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation. Stay with us, everyone. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. Governor Abdullahi Sule, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, is on the program with me as we talk about the development strides of Nasarawa State. Your Excellency, thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Mr. Vice President was recently in Lafayette for the graduation of over 1,000 beneficiaries of your administration's Skills Acquisition Institute. I want you to talk to us about the need for this state-of-the-art Skills Acquisition Center in Lafayette, and what impact will this have on sustainable developments in the state?
Well, that's actually an initiative that I learned from where I used to work. I'm an engineer by background, and I went to technical school, craft school, technical school, in order for me to become an engineer. So I'm an expert welder, both shielded metal arc, electric arc, oxyacetylene, and the rest of that. So basically, I came with that mentality that when you have education, you also need a skill. Because without skill, once you have a skill, then you are armed, to be able not to be actually somebody going around looking for a job, to be even an employer of labor. So that's what informed our idea first of establishing the Vocational and Technical Institute that we did. But we decided to go beyond that. Instead of just having it for that, we also look at some of our retirees that are retiring at the age of 60, and some of them still very strong, and they have no other skills. So they also go there and acquire skills in various areas, either going to be welding, fabrication, electrical installation, carpentry and joinery, ICT, and the rest of that. So we have all the shops that are there. So people come, they acquire, and it is out of that that the Vice President came for the graduation of 1,200 of them.
Also, I'd like to ask, how successful was your experiment in government going into large-scale commercial agriculture? Was it worthwhile?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was much worthwhile. What we did was that we cannot be calling ourselves a state of agriculture, and yet the state government is not in agriculture itself. So we put your money where your mouth is, or whatever it is they call it in English. So what we decided to do was to acquire 10,000 hectares of land, and then we cultivated 2,000, planted the rice, and we were able to harvest the rice. In fact, that's part of what the Vice President came to do. And when we harvested, we got a very good yield, because the yield of the small-scale farmers in Nasarawa State are ranging anywhere between 4 and 5. In this one, we got about 7 tons per hectare yield, of the rice. Of course, you can do more, you can get better. And now we are cultivating more areas, so we are hoping that we'll be able to have between 3,000 and 5,000 hectares. And then we sold most of the rice to Olam, by the way. That's the paddy to Olam for milling. And then we kept about 20% of that, and we still took about 10% of that we are planting in these 5,000 hectares, and we are taking another 10% of that we have shared in every local government areas. We have given them tractors, and we are hoping every local government should be able also to be involved in at least anywhere between maybe 100 to 200 hectares of land, so that they can cultivate a crop that is peculiar to their own area. So it's been a very big success. I'm very happy with what we did.
That sounds very interesting, but I'd also like to take you up on other issues. Nasarawa State is making waves right now, perhaps living up to its name, the home of solid minerals. Tell us about your lithium refining plans. And you also announced that about 100 indigenes with technical backgrounds will undergo training in lithium refining. How much money is going into the state government coffers from all of these mining operations?
Well, these companies do not belong to the state. These companies actually belong to investors that come in. But let me take you this way. When we realized what was going on, we also went and participated in one of the companies that is doing that. And I brought my knowledge of the oil and gas, where owners who are not operators are now given signature bonus. So the first $1.5 million that came to the state at the time, came purely from a company for Nasarawa State just being a non-financial partner of the transaction. Now, after that, every company that is mining in Nasarawa State, we have an executive order that company must also process in Nasarawa State. And we do this to protect the environment, to bring about technical know-how, and then to improve the industrialization of the state. So far, the biggest refining company that has been was commissioned recently by the president through the Senate president is working, called Avatar. We have a bigger company now of roughly about 3 million liters, three times, in fact, the size of the other company, that will be completed in May. Now, all these companies, we have our employees, so we gain from taxes, from tenements, from this, so from every other sources, apart from the fact that our people are also gaining, technically.
All right. Allow me to deviate a bit, Mr. Governor. I'll come back to Nasarawa State, but let's talk about politics. In January, you were very sure Malam Nasir El-Rufai was not going to leave the APC to form a merger somewhere, despite how glaring it was that he was in talks with some members of the SDP. You still had some positive outlook about El-Rufai's constant jab at the APC and the Bola Tinubu-led government. How do you react to this official departure from the APC? Was it too hasty in his decision?
Well, Mr. El-Rufai is not from Nasarawa State. He's at the federal list from Kaduna State, even though we have a border. And I think the people of Kaduna State have answered that clearly. I have seen what the governor has said. I saw what the secretary of the party in the state has said. And I saw what the former Senator Sheikh Hussaini also has said. So they don't feel the impact of his leaving the party. They believe it is completely insignificant, and they don't really pay much attention, and they strongly believe that the party may even become more popular in some areas, especially because when you are a governor, you end up having enemies and friends. So, and the people who spoke so far have shown that Governor El-Rufai actually acquired more enemies than friends, and most of those enemies will now turn around and be an asset to the party. So they are coming back to the party. I was looking at some of the interviews by Sheikh Hussaini, and that's what he said. So I will live by that, because I didn't really come to talk about El-Rufai. I came to talk about Nasarawa State. So I don't think,
All right, but, I mean, one of the things he said was that the APC was not fair to him. Would you say that was right in its entirety?
I don't think anybody leaving or joining the party will change much. To be honest with you, removing a sitting president like Asuwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be an uphill task. Most of the states are doing better now. Most of the party has given him a thumbs high for the wonderful. We just finished our executive meetings. We just finished our caucus meetings, and he received tremendous support from the party and from all the governors so far that were there, and from all the stakeholders that were there. So to say somebody, you know, an ex-governor leaving the party, therefore, is somebody that will make somebody to lack sleep, I don't see it. You know, I think Malang Nasiru El-Rufai has the right to do what he wants to do, and he did what he had to do. So for me, it's not an issue.
All right, Your Excellency, quickly before I let you go, how true is it that you've shown interest in contesting for the Nasarawa North senatorial ticket of the APC in 2027?
It's not an issue for me. I came in, you know, I'm a little bit different from some of these people. I'm not a traditional politician. You know, I'm a politician that came in from the private sector for the purpose to be a governor and to serve. And that is the reason why I have learned, you know, to be contented with whatever I have. Anything whatsoever that I have, I thank God that I have. Anything that I try, I'm not able to have, I thank God that I'm not able, for not giving me that. Maybe that's the best thing for me. So for that reason, being a senator, being a chairman of local government, being that, they are not even on my list at the moment. I'm more concerned about using the remaining 2 years, you know, to give the best 2 years of my entire 8 years. And so far, thanks to Mr. President and thanks to the federal government with the kind of support and the resources we are seeing, I have no doubt whatsoever that our last 2 years will be the best 2 years that we have by the grace of God.
All right, then, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule, thank you so much for your time with us on Politics Tonight, and I look forward to more conversations with you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it anytime. Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reaction of our resource persons is his and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone.